Hey, this is the lesson 3 of this series that I'm doing. This is technically, I believe, the Licks and Tricks part 5, but there's a series that I'm doing within Licks and Tricks. So this is Licks and Tricks. This series will be the part 3, and the next week will be part 4. And I'm going to extend this onto my Patreon as well. This is where I'm exploring some shapes in the pentatonic. And then I had a comment on the last one that I did. I know I took a couple week break there, but I had a comment on the last one that I did to move it to the key of A. So everything that I did so far was in the key of G. If you go back and watch the last 2 videos, those were in the key of G. What we're going to do is we're going to move this to the key of A, and that's just going to bump everything up 2 frets. It's going to be pretty easy to do. I'm going to show you how to do that at the beginning, and then I'm going to show you 1 or 2 new shapes that you can add to this. I'm thinking about adding a 3rd box as well. So we'll see how this goes. A lot of these things that I do, I've got an idea in my head of how I want to do them, but then I just kind of roll with it, and then I cut out the stuff that I mess up on. So we'll get there. I did my mistakes video a couple weeks ago, so if you check that out, you'll see my process, because I'm all about the process and not the product. So the process is going to be focusing on how we improve, how we get better, and a lot of times that means making mistakes, and that is okay. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this. This is going to be Licks and Tricks in this series. This will be the 3rd part. Next week will be part 4. Continue on my Patreon, and make sure you watch all the parts, right? Because if you watch all the parts, you'll understand exactly where I'm going with this. It's going to help you unlock the fretboard a whole lot better, help you understand exactly what I'm teaching. So let's check it out. Okay, so what I'm going to teach you in this lesson is going to look a little complicated at the beginning, but it's 2 separate licks, and we're going to break it down into short chunks. I'm going to show you how we're going to move this from the G to the A, and I got a backing track that I'm going to play over to show you how it sounds, and we're going to break it down. And by the end of this, you'll have a few different exercises that you can play around with, and then of course I'm going to show you how to connect them all together. So it's going to sound like this, the whole thing. And now I'll play it slow. Okay, so I want to make a quick correction. In the last video I showed you the G minor shape, which was this. And then I showed you the second shape of the G minor scale, which is this. And we did some cool stuff like this. Right? And we did things like this. And something like this. And then at the beginning of this lesson, I told you we were going to look at the A major scale, and I said we were going to play this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and amend my original lesson, because I'm still going to move everything down to A, but we're going to play A major. And then I'm going to show you how we can make this A minor as well. Because the A major is going to fit over the backing track that I've chosen for today. And then when I show you how to put this all together at the end, by just moving some shapes around into A minor, you're really going to see how it locks together, and you're going to understand how to do this, okay? So we've already learned these 2 shapes, so it makes sense to just go ahead and continue playing here. We started out in G minor. And then we moved up right to the 2nd box, which is technically going to be A sharp major or B flat major. I believe within the scale it's B flat major. Starting right there. Starting right there on the 6th fret, so we're playing 6, 8. When we get to the 5th and the 4th strings, we're playing 5-8, 5-8. And then we get to the 3rd string, we'll play 5-7. And on the 2nd and the 1st strings, we'll play 6-8, 6-8. And of course, that B flat major, right? Is going to be relative to your G minor. Which, just as a refresher, we're playing that on the 3rd fret and the 6th fret of the 6th string. Then we get to the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd strings, we're going to play 3-5, 3-5, 3-5. Then we get to the 2nd string and the 1st string, we're going to play 3-6, 3-6. So, that's not going to fit over this backing track that I have chosen, which is in A major. So today we're going to spend some time looking at how we're going to move shapes around. So I'm still going to show you that little lick here, which is like this. Right? I think before I played it in the B flat major area. But here's the thing. You got to look on the 6th string and you got to look at your notes, because all these shapes are movable. Every single one of these shapes is movable. We start out on the 3rd fret, which is G. Then we move to the 6th fret, which is your B flat or your A sharp. Okay? But what's in between there? You've got your G sharp, you got your A, you got your A sharp. Okay? And don't worry about how they're named. I know nomenclature with theory is always a little bit different depending on the scale. I'm bad about that. I address that in my Things I Suck At video. But either way, you're going to go ahead and move up the scale, right? So if I'm playing that minor here and I want to move into the major, what's really cool about the pentatonic is the second shape of the minor scale, or the second position of the minor scale, is your major. So the second position starts on the 6 and the 8. That's your major. If you listen to it, it sounds like My Girl, right? And when I go ahead and move that back 1 fret, if this is A sharp, if I move that back 1 fret to your 5th fret, it's going to be in the key of A, right? Right there, it's going to be in the key of A, the whole thing. So in this case, we're just moving everything back. So right there on the 6th string, we're going to play 5-7. And then on the 5th and the 4th strings, we're going to play 4-7, 4-7. When we get to the 3rd string, we're going to play 4-6. On the 2nd string and the 1st string, we're going to play 5-7, 5-7. Now, I've got a backing track queued up, which is a major sounding backing track. And I want you to hear how that shape right there, that I moved back 1 position, right? I moved back 1 fret from the 6th fret to the 5th fret. I want you to see how that sounds over the backing track. Now, we're no longer playing in the key of G minor. The relative minor now has moved back to here, to the 2nd fret. The relative minor is now playing that F sharp, or it might be that G flat. But either way, that's where it's at right there. So there's your relative minor. Everything just moved back 1 fret. So now the relative minor, which we can still play that scale over this backing track, is going to be 2-5. And then we're going to play on the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd strings 2-4, 2-4, 2-4. When I get to the 2nd and the 1st strings, I'm going to play 2-5, 2-5. Then move up to that 5th fret on the 6th string and play that shape, which is now your A major shape. So those 2 shapes still fit. We can still play all those same licks from the last Licks and Tricks video that we did. So check this out over the backing track. I'll throw some of those licks in there, and I'm going to throw that new lick in there as well so you can hear how it sounds. So regardless of the play in there, I hope you were able to see some of the positions where I was able to play the same stuff that we played in the last couple of Elixir Tricks videos, but everything's been bumped back a half step, right? Everything's been bumped back 1 fret. So we're not starting anymore on that 3rd fret. We're moved back to the 2nd fret, which means the second shape is not going to start on the 6th fret. It's going to start on the 5th fret. So everything's moved back a little bit. So if you want to move everything up, and I'll show you this at the end, if you want to move everything up to the key of A minor, you go from G minor to A minor just by moving all these shapes up from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, and then you're in A minor. And you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, I thought that was A major. Well look, here's your G minor shape. Or let's go back to the one that we just did, right? This is your F sharp or G flat minor shape. If I move it up to the 3rd fret, it becomes that G minor shape. If I move it up 2 more frets, 1, 2, it becomes the A minor shape. It's the same shape, right? Now we're in A minor. Now that's not going to fit over the backing track because the backing track's in A major. But your A minor is on the 6th string at 5-8, on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings at 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, and then on the 2nd and the 1st strings at 5-8, 5-8. But I go back 1, 2, 3, okay, and now I'm in that G flat or F sharp minor box, which means the second shape is up 1, 2, 3, and I'm playing the major, which is your A major. Now, of course, it depends on what you're playing over, right? If I was playing over a song that sounded like this, then any of those shapes that I play is going to sound F sharp minor. Okay, if I was playing over a song that sounded like this, which is the one I got my backing track for, then any song that you play with these shapes is going to sound A major. So there's your A major first scale, right? Hey, we'll get back to the lesson in just a minute. I just want to go ahead and let you know that I do have a free course out there at tinyurl.com/danh411. It's a free 7-day course. Over 7 days, it basically takes you step by step how to unlock the fretboard, see the fretboard code. I go string by string, day by day. It might take you a little bit longer than 7 days. You might be able to knock it all out in 1 day. But however you do it, it's going to be able to help you see the fretboard code the way that I kind of see it. I got this crazy method where I understand the fretboard code in an interesting way. I see the scale shapes locking together like puzzle pieces. I see the positions being all circular. I see the fretboard itself being circular. And I show you how to understand that so you can go ahead and find these anchor shapes, be able to gravitate back towards them, be able to train your fingers to go where you want them to go on the fretboard, and just be able to pick up the guitar, find the place on the fretboard where you want to be, and just play scales up and down all over the place and express yourself the way that you want to express yourself. If you want to check out that free course, once again, it's at tinyurl.com/danh411. What we're going to do now, though, is I'm going to show you 2 more scale shapes. So that means if you connect this back to that first scale shape, which is your minor scale shape, you actually have 4 scale shapes. But I'm going to pretend like I didn't make that mistake, and we're just going to say that I did 3 scale shapes today, because I think in the other parts of the video that I've already made, I said that we only did 3 scale shapes today, so we're going to kind of pretend that we didn't say that. But we did. We really learned 4 scale shapes, right? We did learn 1 here. We're moving into the major now, and then we're going to learn 2 more shapes after this. So 1 we've already learned, right? We've already learned that one that was after the 2nd position, which in the last video was our 3rd shape. Our 3rd shape of the minor. But since we're calling this the major scale now, it's going to help us see that this is actually the 2nd shape of the major scale, even though it's the 3rd shape of the minor scale. So that 2nd shape is going to be here. If we're coming off of the A major. So you hear how this part right here where I play the 4 and the 7 on the 5th and the 4th strings, and now I'm going to play a similar section on this next shape, which is here. They're octaves of each other, right? So you can hear that. Gives you an idea of how there are patterns that just are repetitive. This is the circular nature that I often talk about. So let's go ahead and look at that next shape, which is going to be played on the 6th string at 7-9. The 5th string is 7-9. The 4th string is 7-9. And those octaves that I just talked about, when I get to the 3rd string, I'm going to play 6-9. 7-10 when I get to the 2nd string, and 7-9 on the 1st string. So, there's your 2nd shape. And then we'll look at a 3rd shape in just a second. So first of all, I want to show you the 2 patterns that we're going to flesh out. Okay, the first one is going to sound like this. And we're going to play this 2 times. We're going to play this over the 1st shape, and then we're going to play it over the 3rd shape. So I'm not showing you the 3rd shape just yet, but when I do, you'll already know the pattern and how it's played. So it's going to sound like this. And then I slide up into that 2nd shape. And I'll show you that pattern in just a second. So the first pattern, or the first lead lick we're going to play, is going to sound like this. I'm going to play it kind of slow. Let me play it over the backing track just to show you how that sounds. Okay, again, a little refreshing A major backing track sound. So what we're doing there is we're playing on the 6th string. You know, everything's the same, right? We're still playing 5-7, 4-7, 4-7, 4-6, 5-7, 5-7. It's the same thing. But what we're doing is we're going back and forth, similar to that one that I taught you in the 2nd Licks and Tricks video, where I did this. But instead of doing that, what we're going to do is do some hammer-ons and some pull-offs and come back to the previous string and then go forward. So it's going to be less string skipping or hopping back over to the next string and more about just playing the scale up and down, up and down. So we're going to go. Like that. Of course, you could go backwards. There's all kinds of variations, of course. That's something you can play with. I might come back later on and do it. And then, of course, I'm going to be on the 15th doing a free lesson that I'll eventually put into my Patreon. So breaking down the A major shape, we're basically playing 4 notes and then going back. So we're basically playing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then going back 1, 2, 3, and then coming up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then going back 1, 2, 3. So we're using hammer-ons and pull-offs as we do that. So we're going. And that is what gives it that unique sound. So Shreddy, when we speed it up, it's going to sound like that. And you can create all kinds of cool dynamics with that by going up and back a different amount of times. Like you can go up maybe 3 strings and then go back just 1. Something like that. Or we can keep it the way that we're doing it right now. So what we're doing right now is we're just basically doing this. And of course sliding into the next box. So basically we're playing on the 6th string, and this pattern can be repeated on any of these shapes. But this is just in the major scale box. So on the 6th string, we're going to play that 5-7, then go to the 5th string and play the 4-7. And I'm going to hammer over my pinky and then pull off my pinky. Or you can use your ring finger. Either way you do it is fine. I like to use my pinky because I like to think about it as that 1-3 shape and then that 1-4 shape. And then we're going to go back. So after we play that 4-7, the hammer on and the pull off, we're going to go back to the 6th string and play the 7, 5, and then back to the 7. And then walk back up the scale, but this time we're going to walk all the way up to the 4th string. So we're going to go and then back to the 5th string, 4, 7. And then when I get to the 4th string, I'm going to play the 4, 7 again. But here I'm going to do the hammer on the pull off. And then go back to the 5th string, 7, 4, 7. And then walk back up to the 4th string, 4, 7, to the 3rd string, 4, 6, where I'm going to do the hammer on the pull off there. And then back to the 4th string, 7, 4, 7, back to the 3rd, 4, 6, and then to the 2nd, 5, 7, with the hammer on the pull off. Back to the 3rd, play the 6, 4, 6. Then when I go back to the 2nd, I'm going to play the 5, 7, and then go back to the 1st, or go to the 1st, and play the 5, 7 with the hammer on the pull off. Back to the 2nd string where I play that 7, 5, 7. And then back to the 1st string where I play the 5, 7. And slide up into that next box, which is going to take me up to the 9th fret on the 1st string. So again, slowly the whole thing sounds like this. And then of course you can always have variations in there where you go back and forth between the strings. All kinds of cool stuff that you can throw in there. It's just something you want to play with and use a metronome very slowly at first, and then once you get it up to speed, it's going to sound, kind of shreddy. Now when we get to that next box, which we've already talked about, it's this one right here. We're going to do a different shape, which is going to be this. And then right here, when I get to that 7th fret on the 6th string, I'm going to slide up to the next shape, which we haven't talked about yet, but I'm going to slide up to that one, and I'm going to go. So I'm going to play that same pattern that I played the first shape, right? The Ionian shape or the major scale shape when I get to that 3rd shape. Again, we haven't talked about that one yet, but I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. So basically we're doing one pattern, then a 2nd pattern going back, then the same pattern that we did the first time going forward again and sliding back to that 1st pattern. So the only thing we're missing really then is that 2nd pattern, which is going to be across the shape where I play this. Where I'm playing on the 6th string at the 7-9, 5th string 7-9, 4th string 7-9, 3rd string 6-9, 7-10 on the 2nd string, and then 7-9 on the 1st string. And I'm going to do this lick where I go backwards. I think I've showed this before in other lessons. It's a very common bluesy type or pentatonic type lick that goes like this. But I'm just showing it to you across the 2nd shape of the major scale. And it's going to look like this. We're going to start out on the 1st string, and we're going to play where we slid up to, which is on the 9th fret, and we're going to play this pattern that's going to repeat across all the strings. It's going to play 9, 7. There's a pull off there. Then we're going to play on the 2nd string 10. Then we're going to go back to the 1st string and play that 7. Then we're going to go back to the 2nd string and play that 10. Then we're going to play the 7. So we got that pattern right there, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those 6 notes where I go from the 1st string to the 2nd string, to the 1st string, back to the 2nd string, back to the 7th fret on the 2nd string. That little pattern of 6 notes is going to repeat across all. So if you listen to it slowly and you take it in chunks, you could hear it's the same pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when we put it together, it sounds like it's a flurry of notes, but it's really that one pattern repeated those 6 times, I think. So we got. So again, looking at that first string shape, 9, 7, then to the second string 10, back to the first string 7, back to the second string 10, and then the 7 on the second string. That's the whole pattern. Now we're going to do the same thing from the second to the third string. We're going to play 10, 7, go to the third string, play the 9, go back to the second string, play the 7, go back to the third string, play the 9, and then play the 7. That's the whole shape. Then from the third string to the fourth string, I think I said that was the 7, but that's actually the 6. From the third string to the fourth string, we're going to play 9, 6, go to the fourth string, play the 9, back to the third string, play the 6, back to the fourth string, play the 9, and then the 7. So we got then from the fourth string to the fifth string, 9, 7, then to the fifth string 9, then back to the fourth string 7, then back to the fifth string 9, 7, and that's it. Then from the fifth string to the sixth string, 9, 7, then to the sixth string 9, then back to the fifth string 7, then back to the sixth string 9, 7. So that whole pattern just repeats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think earlier I said it was 6 times, but it's actually 5. So putting those two together, you have and right here we're going to slide up to the 9th fret of the 6th string. And we're going to do that first pattern that we did with the major scale shape, that first shape of the major scale. We're going to do that first pattern again across that third shape. So let's see how it sounds up to speed. And then we're ready for that next shape. So what's that next shape look like? It looks almost like the minor pentatonic scale, but it's a little bit different. We're going to play on the 6th string at 9/12 and the 5th string at 9/12. When we get to the 4th and the 3rd strings, we're going to play 9/11. And then when we get to the 2nd string, we're going to play 10/12. And when we get to the 1st string, we're going to play 9/12. And that's going to be your whole pattern. And we're just going to apply that same shape that we did at the beginning to that pattern. So we're going to play something like that at the end, either way is fine. So the whole thing is going to sound like this. So you can see that first shape is the same thing as that third shape, right? It's the same pattern that we're basically playing. So we're going to play 9/12, then go to the 5th string and play 9/12 with your hammer-ons and your pull-offs. And then we're going to go back to the 6th string and play 12, 9, 12. And then follow through until we get to the 4th string. So on the 5th string we're going to play 9, 12. And then on the 4th string we're going to play 9, 11. But that's going to be the hammer-ons and the pull-offs right there. Go back to the 5th string and play 12, 9, 12. To the 5th string, 9, 11, to the 4th string, 9, 11 with your hammer-ons and your pull-offs. And then back to the 4th string, 11, 9, 11, then 9, 11 on the 3rd string. Then when we get to the 2nd string, we're going to play that 10, 12 with the hammer-ons and the pull-offs. Go back to the 3rd string, and play 11, 9, 11, back to the 2nd string, 10, 12. And then when we get to the 1st string, we're going to play that 9, 12 with the hammer-ons and the pull-offs. Back to the 2nd string, play that 12, 10, 12. Then back to the 1st string and that 9 there and slide back to the 5, or the 9, 12 and slide back to the 5. So I'll tab it out on the screen just in case I said the wrong numbers, but basically we're doing this. So again, up to speed, thinking about this as a Shreddy lick over a song. And of course, it doesn't have to be shreddy. You can put all kinds of cool feel in there and take your time with things and express yourself a little bit differently, even with the same patterns and the same notes. So putting pauses and hills and valleys and things like that in there can make it a little more dynamic, and it's just something to play with. You know, find that feel, find that groove that you want to find for your song, and you can use the same licks over and over and over again and just change them around and, you know, create some cool dynamics like that. So that gives you those 3 shapes. As always, thank you for checking out my YouTube videos that I have on here every single week. Be sure to check out my free course that I have for you at tinyurl.com/danh411. All of my lessons that I put here on YouTube basically kind of rely on a foundational knowledge that I have. It's my little crazy way of understanding the fretboard, how it is like a circle. And I know it looks like a straight, flat board, but I see this thing as a circle, which is weird. But it's this way that I understand it, and it's this foundational knowledge that I have where everything that I teach on my YouTube channel, I try to interject some of those foundational concepts in the lessons. But if you want all that foundation packed into one singular course, get that free course. It's over at tinyurl.com/danh411. Again, it'll unpack the fretboard for you, unlock it, help you understand how I see this thing and why I teach the way that I do. So again, tinyurl.com/danh411, check that out. And if you did want to look at that 4th shape that we did look at, even though we're pretending like we didn't, which is that one that's on that G flat, right? Which is technically your minor scale, okay? If you did want to look at that one, because the 2nd shape of the minor scale is your major, then of course we can apply the same patterns to that one. We can go ahead and start with that one. And then go into the 2nd shape, which is the major scale, and we can do that little backwards lick. And we go up to the next shape, and we can do the forward lick, which we did the backwards lick before. And then do the backwards lick on the 3rd shape, which is now the 4th shape. We're starting with that F sharp, right, on the 2nd fret, or that G flat right there. But of course you can move that up 1 fret and it becomes a G minor. Move it up 2 more frets from there to the 5th fret, and all of a sudden it becomes an A minor. So that 1st shape becomes something like this. And then you play with the other ones. So what happens there is we've now included that last shape, and I've changed the order of how I do my patterns. I'm going up, then back, then up, then back, rather than starting with the major scale and going up and back and up. So it gives you 2 different ways to think about how to play this. But remember, the patterns are the same. It's just a matter of looking at the different positions of the pentatonic scale and deciding which one you want to play that pattern over. Just going back to that A major, we could play the forward pattern on the A major like this, like we did at the beginning. And then I can go back on the same pattern. So either one of those patterns would work on any of the shapes. You can go up with one, back with the other, and of course it gives you a really cool way of playing and thinking about your scale shapes. So in today's lesson we took this lick. And basically broke it down into chunks, Showed you how to play around with it and also to move it from the G to the A, right? At the very beginning of that, showing you how to take that shape. So of course, if you want to take that back to the G, all you got to do is move everything down 2 frets. Pretty easy to do. But what I want to know is in the comments, please, of course, leave me a like, subscribe, share the video to all your guitar friends. But in the comments, let me know, is this helping you understand the pentatonic a little bit better? We're looking at 3 shapes of the pentatonic here. So this goes beyond that first lesson, which was just 1 shape, the second lesson, which was 2 shapes, and now this third lesson, which is 3 shapes. So what I want to know is this helping you understand the circular nature of the pentatonic? Normally I teach the modes, or I teach the 7-note scales, and I understand the circular nature better there. I think it works better with the 7-note scales, especially we can gravitate back to those anchor shapes and find those anchor shapes. But there's a circular nature in the pentatonic as well. In fact, we've basically covered 3 of the shapes, and there's only 5 shapes in your typical pentatonic scale, whether you're playing major or minor or starting on any of the positions in between. So you got 5 shapes. We've learned 3 of them. And this can give you all kinds of stuff to express your playing with. So in the comments, are you starting to see some patterns? If you are starting to see some patterns, let me know, because you might see some things that I don't see, and of course I can use that to help me guide your instruction as well, or guide the instruction on this channel. So anyway, thank you for checking out my video today. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Keep on rocking, and I'll see you next time.